Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. We are very excited about this opportunity to speak with Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, so thank you very much. Well, hot mic, okay. Thank you so much for coming, for the opportunity, and especially for making this feel comfortable for me. Great leaders are natural speakers. I, on the other hand, we'll just try to be sincere. How about that?
That's wonderful.
And being amongst my exchange family makes that a little easier. So thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about something that's interesting to you.
We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. I want to show you guys something. This article is Serving Soldiers and Airmen Online and Around the World. On January 15th of this year, a special retail edition of the CIO Review magazine was published, and it featured our own Mr. Stevens. The managing editor explained how retail technology provides solutions that not only complement today's product, price, platform, and place, but it integrates tomorrow's trends, technologies, presenting a future-ready approach to business globalization. Mr. Stevens, one of our exchange visionaries, is doing just that. From leveraging data scientists in order to get to know our customer base a little bit better, to establishing the very first exchange Military Star app. The vision is a customer journey around a digital garrison to simplify day-to-day interactions. With that said, it is my honor to get to know you a little better.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Stevens. So, to begin, would you share a little bit about your early life, your influences, and maybe some of their advice?
Sure. So yesterday, Felicia told me she wanted to ask a question about my early life, and I thought, man, that's weird. I think she knows I'm from Cincinnati. In the Midwest, we pride ourselves in being boring. So it's like, no, that's you know. And the most exciting thing we do in Cincinnati is put chili over top of spaghetti noodles. But anyway, if you're from there, you like it. It's good that way. But so I started out kind of struggling with, you know, what am I going to say that might be interesting to folks, and I thought about it for a little while, and I decided I'd share this. So I was born in Cincinnati, as I mentioned, but my dad was born in Highbridge, Kentucky, which I'm told puts the nowhere in the middle of nowhere. So he was born in Highbridge. He was the son of an American of European descent and a Native American, and I think that heritage had a lot of impact on him throughout his life. There's a really wild story about when he moved from Highbridge to Covington, Kentucky, but I think that's a story for another day. But he all his life was an independent thinker. He didn't want to be fenced in by anyone. He was going to see it his own way and talk it his own way. Mom was an immigrant from Scotland, very proud of her heritage. To the day she died, she was not a U.S. citizen. I think she was kind of hopeful that the colonists would see the error of their ways, but she was happy to be here nonetheless, and raised six great Americans. The neighborhood I grew up in actually had a lot of immigrants. It turns out 2 doors down was a German family. This 2 doors down from that was a family from Holland. Around the corner, another German family. Down the street, a family from the Philippines, and behind us, a family from Japan. And so, you think about that, and it's kind of a post-World War II melting pot. And if you were to stir up the melting pot of America in 1964 and reach in and pull out a child, you might have ended up with a kid in a blue-collar, mixed-race family with one immigrant parent. And so I think the interesting thing I can tell you is that I may be the most statistically average person in America from 1964. So anyway, that's that. And you know, as for influences, I think in our country we're all so blessed. Even a very average kid like I was has a lot of great influencers and positive impacts. I remember Mrs. Sparks from 6th grade, and I vividly remember the moment she said to me, you know, you're a smart kid. And it was weird. Nobody had ever said that before. And I went home that day and I remember thinking, gosh, I guess she said it, so I'm a smart kid. I guess I'll just be smart then. And literally, that was the day I got on an academic track. One comment, one time from a person who cared enough to say so, to you know, Miss Phillips, who taught me to love the English language in high school, to Mr. Belcher, who taught me math, and Mr. Tedesco, who taught me science. You know, all these folks, perhaps the teacher I owe the most to, other perhaps than Mrs. Sparks, is Mrs. Debling. You know, Dad took some college classes but didn't have a degree. Mom wasn't from this country, so she doesn't know how all that stuff works. I knew I was supposed to go to college because that's what smart kids did, and Mrs. Sparks said I was smart. So, you know, I knew I was supposed to, but I had no idea of the process. And so Mrs. Debling said, so Phil, you're going to college, right? Oh yeah, that's what they do. Well, where are you going? I don't know, I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. I don't know the process. And so she said, hey, I'm going to Purdue this weekend. Why don't you go with me? And that was my entire college selection process. So anyway, it turns out it was a fantastic school. And again, I think that's one of the things we're blessed with, is just the best educational system in the world. And so even average kids here get to participate in the best education system in the world. So that was great. But as probably if we went around the room and said, who was the biggest influence in your life? Many of us, probably most, would end up with our parents, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Certainly true with me as well. And Mom, anyone who could tolerate 6 children, clearly taught me the value to value family. And also to value serving others, because as a mother of 6 children, that's pretty much what she did. So she was a wonderful role model in that regard. And Dad taught me the importance of independent thinking and a love of learning. So that's me.
Wonderful. Had I talked with you prior to my daughter selecting her college, you could have saved me a lot of money, because we had to go around and tour all of these colleges before she made her selection. But that was very interesting about your background. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, sure thing.
Now, most people who work for the exchange have an affiliation with the military, spouses, parents, themselves. Do you have an affiliation with the military?
Yes, I sure do. So my dad came from a relatively poor family, and his best option was to change his life and start an exciting new life of his own, was to join the Navy. He quite loved his service, but he said after a couple of years as a corpsman in the Navy, he didn't like to stay clean so much. And so he transferred from the Navy into the Marine Corps. And so Dad was started in the Navy, transferred to the Marine Corps, and got to play in the mud, which I guess made him happier. And his good son, my brother Doug, followed Dad into the Marine Corps. I have to admit, I did disappoint Dad a couple of times. The first time, he said to me, he said, son, I think you need to, I understand all this, computer stuff, but you need to learn a skill that you can fall back on in hard times. And so I thought about that, and I went away, and I developed a skill, and I came back to him and I said, Dad, good news, I've got a skill I can fall back on. I learned COBOL programming. said, I was talking about welding, son, welding. But hey, COBOL programming is still used, so I'm just saying. The other time I disappointed him a little bit was when I decided to go into the Air Force. You know, he got over it, and he was very proud at the commissioning ceremony. So I'm happy to say he was happy in the end.
Well, that's truly military service as a family affair then.
Yes.
So, well, what did you do after you got out of the military?
Yeah, so and if you don't mind, I'll back up just a little bit and say, so I tech school at Keesler. They needed somebody for a very difficult assignment, very unpleasant, to be a young officer stationed at Tyndall Air Force Base. And so I said, well, if somebody's got to go, yeah, you can send me. So I spent most of my time at Tyndall, and I actually volunteered to transfer quite a number of times, but my commander felt like he needed the expertise, and he didn't want to let me go. So I ended up staying at Tyndall for like 4 years. And you can imagine anybody so silly as to keep trying to leave Panama City, Florida. Anyway, I talked to him. I said, sir, you know, I really think it makes sense for purposes of transition. You know, you need to bring in a new officer here. And he says, okay, got it. And the very next thing that came up was at the Pentagon. So I went from Tyndall to the Pentagon.
Wow.
And yeah, big culture shift.
Absolutely.
Actually, I didn't mind at all my time in the Pentagon. I was a captain at the time, and so I wasn't senior enough to worry about politics. I was way below that, and I had a job to do, and I did it. And I took master's classes after work every day, and that was that. So I really enjoyed my time there. But they were downsizing my year group. It was we won the war, right? And they were downsizing my year group, and we had some of my extended family in Cincinnati, actually, weird coincidence, died that year. Like I lost 4 family members between my wife and myself. And so I just thought to myself, well, they're downsizing. Maybe this is a good time to get home. And so I made the decision to go back home to Cincinnati, to be close with my family there. And first job, I went from one of the largest organizations in the world, you know, the United States Department of Defense, to one of the smallest, 10-person software company. And yeah, it was big software company, yes. So tremendously, you know, fast-paced, you know, talk about ownership, right? With 10 people, you know, you write the software, you write the documentation, you put it in a box, you ship it to the customer, you go out and you shake hands with the customer, you know, you do everything. So it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. But it turns out that the particular niche the company was in wasn't fantastic, and so it didn't end well for the company. But that gave me the opportunity to join Macy's. And so instead of being a general technologist, I became a retail technologist at that point, 93, I think, or something like that. So I worked for Macy's for a long time, and then decided to take a CIO opportunity. So moved on from Macy's into the financial services industry for a while, and then did some consulting, and now I'm here.
Wow, Macy's is that. I've heard that in some of the meetings that you've had, that you had the background with Macy's, and that always rings a bell with me. So I was interested to know how that tied together.
Yes.
So thank you.
Surely.
Thank you. Now, unlike you, I didn't have a military affiliation. After graduating from college, I had student loans for 2 degrees, and I needed a job. I just really needed a job. But I must admit, working for the exchange has been incredibly rewarding for me. So tell us how or what brought you to the exchange.
That, to me, it was just like weirdly perfect. Dad was a Marine. I served in the Air Force. I loved my time in the Air Force. I did separate, but it wasn't because I wasn't really enjoying it and proud of what I was doing. It just, like I say, kind of a family thing. And I, at that point, considered myself a retail guy. And so I thought, to be honest, I don't remember exactly the moment I saw the job posting, but I remember when I did see it, I thought, oh my goodness, how perfect is that? It's back to the military, and it lets me build on my retail experience. And so to me, it just seemed like the most perfect opportunity to add value and contribute to something I feel great about.
Absolutely. Wow. If I could speak for everyone in the room, we're certainly glad that you saw that particular vacancy and that you're here with us. Certainly
Thank you.
Glad. Now, we talked the other day about leadership priorities, and you were going to share something a little bit with the audience about your leadership priorities.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So when Mr. Shull asked me to take my current responsibility as Chief Administrative Officer, he explicitly, and he was rather direct, he spoke slowly and clearly, he said, Phil, I'm looking for you to improve the responsiveness of these support functions I'm entrusting to you, improve the responsiveness to the exchange mission, make sure we are focused on serving soldiers, airmen, and their families through this retail business that we run. And while you're doing that, I need you to improve the efficiency of the organization and improve the agility, not because we weren't good, but because the bar for good in retail, and I'm going to talk about this more in a few minutes, but the bar for good is ever increasing. And if we aren't getting better every single day, then we're falling behind. And so that was his charge to me. And I obviously took it very seriously, and I thought about it for a while. And as luck would have it, Mickey and I, Mickey's here today, sometimes joke, it's better to be lucky than good. Well, in this case, what that means is that I read the 2018 National Defense Strategy Summary, and it's, 50 pages or something, summary of the Secretary of Defense's strategy. And I was going through there and highlighting sentences, and flip a page, highlight a couple more sentences, flip a page, highlight a couple more. And after I was done, I took all the sentences I highlighted and I put them into a single Word document. And I added just a couple of transition words. Literally, this is a copy and paste from the National Defense Strategy Summary. And it's perfect. And if you don't mind, I know it's like uncool to read when you're talking to a group, but it's important enough to me that I'm going to take my 2 minutes of fame and read this to you. And I would encourage you. We can make it available online as well. So this is what I call, somewhat for fun, the CAO Transformation Manifesto. Mickey pointed out to me that usually it's sociopaths and serial killers that have manifestos, but I said no. It's supposed to mean for passion. That's what I'm trying to I'm trying to get across with that. So the CAO Transformation Manifesto from the 2018 National Defense Strategy Summary. The current bureaucratic approach, centered on exacting thoroughness and minimizing risk above all else, is proving to be increasingly unresponsive. We must transition to a culture of performance where results and accountability matter. We will put in place a management system where leadership can harness opportunities. Our response will be to prioritize speed of delivery, continuous adaptation, and frequent modular upgrades. We must not accept cumbersome approval chains, wasteful applications of resources in uncompetitive space, or overly risk-averse thinking that impedes change. Delivering performance means we will shed outdated management practices and structures while integrating insights from business innovation. We will organize for innovation if current structures hinder substantial increases. We will consolidate, eliminate, or restructure as needed. We're committed to changes in authorities, granting waivers, and securing external support for streamlining processes and organizations. We will drive budget discipline and affordability. Better management begins with effective financial stewardship. We will also continue efforts to reduce management overhead and the size of headquarters staff. A rapid, iterative approach to capability development will reduce cost, technological obsolescence, and acquisition risk. Prototyping and experimentation should be used. Systems must be designed for routine replacement instead of static configurations that last more than a decade. Technological advantage depends on a healthy and secure innovation base. We will continue to streamline processes so that vendors can provide cutting-edge technologies and cultivate partnerships to leverage capabilities. That was long. But all the words you heard were written by the Secretary of Defense. That applies clearly to the Department of Defense. If I were a leader in any business in any industry, those are the right words. If I think about what we're doing here at the exchange, a very specific retailer, those are the right words. And they're right for all of us, but they're especially right for those of us serving in a support function. Because it's easy to kind of get focused in what we do every day and lose track of the fact that what we're really here for is serving soldiers, airmen, and their families. And so to me, this was just the perfect way to remind myself the best way that we, in the support functions of the exchange, can serve soldiers, airmen, and their families. So those are my leadership priorities. Those are the leadership priorities of the CAO team.
Wonderful. And it shared a wonderful perspective on innovation and creativity and things of that nature. So it was a very interesting manifesto.
Thank you.
Thank you. From your many meetings with the CEO and other executives to leading the brilliant minds in IT and GC and procurement and administration, how do you manage to find time to have a work-life balance? Everybody wants to know that.
All right. Everybody wants to know how to do that. Yeah, including me. I wish I had an answer that would work for everybody. I wish I had frankly, even a better answer for myself. But the one thing that I do, I try to do here at work the best I can, and I certainly try to do, and my wife works with me to do at home, is to manage our commitments. So many of us, and you know who you are, will keep ourselves just as busy as we can. And if somebody says, hey, I need you to do this, okay, yes, hey mom, hey dad, I want to do this. Okay, we'll make it happen. Okay. And it leaves yourself no wiggle room, no opportunity to flex and adapt when surprises come. And so I try to manage my commitments at the office. We try with my wife try to manage our commitments at home. So we've got 7 kids and 10 grandkids. 4 of them are grown, doing great, all very successful, and we're very proud of them. And then 3 of them are still at home with us. And the girls are all in piano, and they're all in tennis, but tennis is not our life, right? Life is our life, and if an opportunity comes up for us to visit family in Georgia or Ohio or Indiana, my wife homeschools our girls, and so we pick up the camp and we continue our life in Georgia. So we just try to leave ourselves some free space in the schedule and design to be flexible. And I don't know if that is going to help anybody, but that's the way we try to work through it.
I think it will, because sometimes I think we all have difficulties trying to find the balance between work and life, because we're committed at work, we're committed at home, and just making that work. But you have a lot of commitments. You have a lot of commitments. There was a question that I wanted to ask you, and having worked with you, I feel comfortable that you could share this with the rest of the audience. What are those causes that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so I was listening to the radio a few years ago, and there was somebody speaking, and it kind of doesn't matter, but he was speaking and said if you don't care about this cause, then you're a terrible person. This is so important. Everybody ought to be focused on this. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, there are so many important causes. I mean, our kids aren't graduating from high school at the rate they ought to be graduating from high school. We're not saving enough for retirement. We've got parts of the country, like we learned in with Hurricane Katrina, that have desperate infrastructure issues that are just one severe weather event away from destruction. Oh my goodness, right? We could worry all day, every day, and I think we have to choose where we're going to focus our personal passion. And so I'm going to tell you my two things. Please don't think I don't desperately care about lots of others, but again, you got to manage your commitments, and we can only worry about so much at a time. So my two things, I thought about it, prayed about it, and the realization for me is that you can't give people much. You look at lottery winners, right? They literally get millions of dollars, and some of them blow it all and die broke. It's like, wow, you can give people money, but it doesn't help. You can give people fame, and it doesn't necessarily end well. What can you really give people that has a lasting positive impact? And I came to two answers. One is a family. And I don't think that's a value statement. I think that's, you could do the math and say who ends up well, and people with families end up better. And so adoption is something that my wife and I have been just very, very passionate about. Of course, through adopting some of our own children, but also supporting and encouraging adoption among our friends and acquaintances, and basically anybody who will listen. I heard statistics, again, a million things to worry about. I'm not trying to make you feel bad about one more thing, but just, you asked about my passion. I heard the statistic that your odds of dying in the next 5 years are higher if you are a boy in a Russian orphanage than if you're a U.S. inmate on death row. Oh my goodness. That's insane. That can't be, Look, we've got parents who want children. We've got children who need, how hard can this be? So anyway, that's making sure that my wife and I do the very best we can to help children have families is our first passion. The second thing I think that we can give, society can give a person that can have lasting positive impact is an education. You can't take it away. They may call in your loans, but you've still got the education, and so I'm just a huge believer in the very best education that we can give all children. And I'm biased, and here's a little bit of my techie nerd thing coming through, but I happen to think STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math is tremendously important. I think our country is losing a competitive advantage by frankly just abdicating leadership on STEM education, and I think that's something we need to get a lot better at. So those, I care about so much, but those are the two things that I can manageably commit to.
Well, thank you. Thank you. In listening to you, I heard the passion, and I must say that I think that life is much sweeter when we can make a difference in someone else's life. So that was very good to hear about your passion for your causes. Now, transitioning a bit to the part you just said about the IT world. Okay, we need to go to IT for a minute. But I'm not going to try any of y'all's acronyms that you all have in IT. What are your plans for investing in technology?
Yeah, so thanks to Lee and the other members of the EGC who approved the company's investments. There's so many important advances going on right now. You know it. We're all customers. Hopefully, first and foremost, the exchange, and then also with other folks, other places where we shop. Technology is moving fast and furious. Retail. When I started in retail in whatever it was, like 92 or 93 or something like that, retail was a technology backwater. My friends, retail? Why are you going into retail? That's not technology. Oh my goodness! Now we're like leading the world, right? I mean, Amazon is redefining everything. They're scaring the healthcare industry. They're looking at everything. And retail is at the forefront of change, the most rapidly changing industry. And for better or worse, technology is at the core of much of that rapid change. So we, the EGC and the company, we need to manage our commitments there too. We could invest in lots of things. A few of the areas in particular I thought I would mention where some of the most exciting change for us will be happening is first in mobile, but also, I'm sure many of you have read the term omnichannel. Some retailers love it, some analysts love it, others like different terms, boundaryless retail or whatever. I go with omnichannel. Just the idea that regardless of where you are or what technology happens to be at hand, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's a laptop, whether it's your smartwatch, whether it's the TV you're looking at, there are so many channels by which we might interact with our customers, or they may want to interact with us. And we've certainly made progress in the last couple of years. We've got an e-commerce platform that can be scaled, that can be extended into omnichannel, in an omnichannel world. We've got a much improved mobile experience for our website, and as Felicia mentioned, a fantastic Military Star mobile application. And yes, like a commercial, I know, but seriously, if you haven't downloaded the app, please download the app, and I won't take offense if you get out your phone right now. It's a great app. You should seriously try it, use it. And so we're taking steps, but there's so far to go in our omnichannel journey. One of the things, and I'm remiss not to have said sooner, how fortunate we as a company are to have Mr. Shaw leading the charge. Fantastic soldier, of course, and also a brilliant retail leader. And he coined a term that I think just perfectly captures what we need to focus on, and that is the digital garrison. And for those of us in the Air Force side, he sometimes will call it the digital installation, but of course he prefers digital garrison. And that's really it, right? I mean, soldiers live on base. Their family, even if they technically live off base, that's the center of their community. And so being the digital integration point for soldiers' lives through the digital garrison is key to our corporate strategy. So omnichannel by way of the digital garrison is an important area of investment for us. Second, the last mile of retail, that is getting that package to the customer. Tom Lozier's here. I tell Tom and Karen Stack, I said, there aren't too many people in the building that I feel sorry for. I mean, IT is pretty tough, frankly. But somebody, I have to say, wow, you might actually have it worse than me, is Tom and Karen with logistics. I mean, Amazon is beating other retailers' brains out by raising the bar with fulfillment. It started with 2-day delivery, and then same-day delivery. And for goodness sakes, they weren't even kidding about the drones. They're using drones. So you're killing me. And so that last mile is going fast and furious. And of course, the challenge of it is being profitable. And again, I'll talk about this more in a minute. But for most of their 20 years of history, Amazon was not profitable. It's only in the last several years that they've been profitable. And much of their profitability, in fact, really all of their profitability, fundamentally comes from their Amazon Web Services side, not their retail side. So they're subsidizing their retail business through these other operations that most retailers can't match, right? And so, how do you profitably compete against this Goliath that isn't worried about profitability? And so, for example, Amazon and others are looking at lockers. We can avoid the cost of getting that package to you if you will come to the package, and if we can make it convenient enough for you. And so, lockers are something that we're actively talking about. You probably know that over the last several years we've implemented a very strong ship-from-store program. That's going great now, and it's made a big difference in our speed of fulfillment, and it gives us some flexibility in where we have inventory and how we can move inventory where we want to from there to the customer. And so ship-from-store has been a great benefit to the company and to our customers. Buy online, pick up in store. I've been wrong about lots of things in my life, and that was one. When I first heard industry analysts talking about buy online, pick up in store, I thought, why would I want to come to you? Just send it to me. Customers love it. They love it, and of course, as a retailer, you're eliminating that fulfillment cost, so you're keeping your costs down. And there's a chance it won't necessarily happen, but there's a chance they'll buy something else while they're there. And so we've implemented a buy online, pick up in store capability. It's going well. We need to do more. We need to double down, and again, possibly in combination with something like lockers. So that last mile of retail, getting the product to the customer, is going to continue to be a key battleground. It's still going to stink to be Tom, sorry. But that's going to be one of the grounds on which we're going to have to fight. A little bit more glamorous area of technology, robotic process automation, and ultimately genuine AI, artificial intelligence. Robotic process automation is not AI. Some people call it AI light. It's using a little bit of intelligence in the computer to do more of the manual, repetitive work that humans do. So, Phil, if it's not really AI, why do you put those two things together? Because I see robotic process automation eliminating repetitive tasks here in the headquarters building, maybe out in the stores, maybe in the distribution centers, eliminating those manual tasks as a way to fund real AI. So I see it as a valuable baby step in the direction of real intelligence, and more fully empowering our associates with computers that are more intelligent. It's going to be huge. Clearly, it's all in the industry. So none of this is my observation. It's what you're going to see and read any place today. The thing that I think I'll see if I can do this well. I've got a complicated thought that I barely understand myself. That I'll see if I can convey. Some people think the radical change in AI will be when the AI is smarter than Einstein. Great, whatever. Yeah, that's probably going to happen too. I don't think that's the big change. I think it's going to be when everything is smarter than a fifth grader. Literally, think about it. These air conditioning vents, when it becomes so cheap that you can implement the sensors you need and the intelligence for that air conditioning vent to say what's the current temperature. Oh, I'm going to open. There was too much pressure required when I opened that vent. There must be a problem, I'm going to call for repair before it actually hard breaks. I think it's not extreme levels of intelligence, it's intelligence everywhere for everything that's really going to change the world. And probably a bigger thought than I can really unpack in this audience, but AI is going to be huge for us. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention security. The bad guys are just stinking bad, and they don't rest, and it's like, for goodness sake, get a job, do something productive. But they won't. They just want to keep being bad, and they're getting really stinking clever. So security is going to continue to be an area where we invest.
Very interesting. And I really like your example about artificial intelligence.
Oh, good.
Yes, I really did, because I wasn't quite sure of that, so your explanation really helped in me grasping that. B is giving us a signal here.
Yes.
And so would you like to, we'll forego the last question?
No, let's do.
You want to do the last question? Okay. Just so everyone knows, we're going to do one little question and then open it up for Mr. Stevens to talk about it. But I think he sounds like he's going to incorporate it all into the last question. So, sir, what is the most rewarding aspect of being our CIO and CAO?
Yeah, one of the most wonderful aspects about the exchange, and I think we all benefit from it, and I certainly am grateful, and I'm sure many of you are as well, the opportunity to not be pigeonholed, to be seen as a resource that can be deployed in multiple ways and grow and change. When I came here, I was an IT guy, and I had no real practical experience beyond that. I mean, I had been part of retail, and I had some retail knowledge, but I was an IT guy. But Mr. Schell saw in me the chance to apply some good common business sense and perhaps add value in other parts of the company. There are many places that doesn't happen. You get kind of stuck, and I think it's part of our culture here at the Exchange that people move. They move, from one region to another. They go downrange maybe for a while. They come back to headquarters, and I think that's all part of a very healthy work environment. It can be great for us as individuals, give us a chance to learn and grow, and it's great for the company to get that broader perspective. So that having the chance to be involved in so much more than just technology is what I find most rewarding.
Well, thank you. We do. Are there any other?
No. All good.
Okay. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better. I'm a little happy because I do get to go to a couple of meetings and do spend a little time with you and just listening to how you lead and how you keep us together and keep us going and keep us motivated. So I appreciate that. And again, thank you for this opportunity. So B, may I turn the floor back over to you?
Thank you. I have to thank Felicia for interviewing Mr. Stevens, and most of all, Mr. Stevens, thanks for your time today and sharing your thoughts and insights with us. And thanks to each one of you for coming up today and sharing time with us. It's been a pleasure on our part, and I hope it was very informational on your part. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.